Lately there seems to be some cultural obsession with aging in retirement, and particularly doing it solo. There almost seems like there's a pressure to present aging very positively. Sometimes that can feel rather unrealistic. There are days where I have particular aches and pains where I just feel a little bit more slower and a little bit more tired than usual. I'm not bouncing out of bed every morning, waving my arms around and jumping up and down and saying, aren't I a lucky woman? Here I am. I'm getting older and I'm just thriving. It doesn't mean that I don't find joy, and I definitely do find meaning in my life. You know, there's nothing so wrong with surviving. It's a pretty good achievement. Even younger people aren't thriving every day. It baffles me how this notion came along that we were supposed to retire and suddenly we had all this newborn zest for life. We had energy that we never had before. And I will admit that you do find extra new pleasures in your life, and you do find new endeavors and lots of interesting things to explore. All of that happens and all of that's great. But at the same time, many of us have real life struggles, and we always have, because that's life. Life doesn't go in one straight line. And now that we're getting older and our bodies are slowing down, there are new challenges. We simply don't have the energy, we don't have the endurance that we once had, and we don't bounce back as well. Our sleep patterns can change, and this is a big one. Some people feel like they need less sleep. They're waking up a lot earlier. They're waking up at the crack of dawn, and it makes the day a lot longer. And by the afternoon, a lot of people are feeling really tired. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that occasionally you do need a nana nap. Hey guys, if you haven't subscribed, please don't hold back. I'd so appreciate you subscribing. It would truly make my day. Quite often it can take longer to recover physically. If you've had the flu or you've had some sort of sickness, we just don't bounce back as quickly as we used to. And I think our emotional resilience can definitely change. In the morning, I often have a mental list of the things I want to achieve during the day and the things I'm going to do. And quite often I'll be working through them and I just hit a wall. Somewhere after lunchtime, I just think, I'm going to have to put that one off, or one or two of those things off until tomorrow. I find myself fading. My energy's dropping. And quite often, as I said, it requires a nana nap. For most of us, our bodies just don't go as far or as fast as they used to. We're not as strong as we used to be, and that's not weakness, that's just reality. And let me mention mental health. I don't see a lot of videos on YouTube mentioning our mental health. Anxiety and depression are real. They're real at any age, but they do affect older people, particularly solo older people. Any stress that we have in our life can create anxiety. It can be financial stress, or we could be dealing with health problems, or we might have family issues going on. It's only natural we're going to feel some anxiety. As we age, we can deal with a lot of uncertainty. Many of us find it remarkable that we even got here. And I think at times we all feel gratitude. There is no such thing as a perfect retirement. There is no such thing as a perfect solo life. The lack of money, living on a fixed income, a fixed budget, a tight budget. This is real for many people in retirement. We don't all have healthy superannuation funds. And the cost of living refuses to back down. It does what it always does. It just keeps climbing, and it seems to be climbing very rapidly lately. I just had a little break away, and as you do when you're away, you quite often want to just spoil yourself, indulge a little bit. So I felt like eating some cake. And I walked into a charming little bakery in a quaint town, and I was looking at all the yummy cakes, and for some reason in my mind I think I had a figure about $6, maybe $7. There wasn't any piece of cake in there under $10. Some of them were more, some of them were $12 and $13 for just one piece of cake. Later I was talking to a younger woman about how I was finding going out to eat now, even for something casual to a cafe, has become so much more expensive. She told me with 4 children and a husband that they spent $100 if they buy kebabs. Kebabs. Kebabs used to be one of the meals that you could buy economically. It was almost akin to buying a burger. $100 for a husband and 4 children to buy kebabs for dinner. If that's not scary, I don't know what is. The cost of living is going up fast, and I know it's putting a lot of pressure on some retirees, particularly if you're solo. So when I got onto the topic of the cost of living, insurance came up, home insurance, and everyone's feeling that these days. Home insurance has really increased, and it particularly increased in a whole area around me. And I'm talking many towns being affected because we had a major flood. Now, by the insurance companies, are considered to be flood-prone areas, and people's home insurance hasn't just doubled, it's tripled and quadrupled. A lot of people in retirement simply can't afford that. I know of a couple of people that have decided not to pay home insurance. In the last few years, for all my bigger bills, I pay installments now. Years ago, I used to get the bill and I would just pay it one lump sum at a time. I can't afford to do that anymore. I have to pay in installments. So when that bill comes in, I don't get a big shock. I have to budget for these bills now, and electricity, well, that one really hurts. It's gone up so much, it's hard to believe. Ordinary life now is financially stressful for a lot of people. Not just retirees, but particularly retirees. We're on a limited income. There's no more money coming our way. A lot of us are looking for side hustles or even thinking about going back to work part-time, and I'm included in that. You know, I think as you get older, you just can't absorb those financial shocks as well as you used to. I think that you don't have the time, you don't have the energy to bounce back from them. And sometimes you just can't find a solution. Many of us have very limited or no financial buffer, and psychologically, they can get to you. They can definitely cause anxiety at times. I don't think it's because a lot of us retirees are out there spending madly and being irresponsible. I think a lot of us are feeling the squeeze. Here in Australia, there's been a very strong psychological change. And this is not just for elderly retirees. We used to call this the lucky country. We all felt we were very lucky and privileged to be living here. And now it's rather sad to hear it, but constantly I'm hearing people say this is no longer the lucky country. The rising homelessness for elderly women, it's heartbreaking, it's appalling. I don't think we've seen this before. I watched a few programs on TV about this, and these women are just ordinary women, just like myself, just like you probably. I think one of the harder things for older single women, I don't think we hear this enough, is lack of support. It can get a bit tiring, carrying everything yourself, not having that emotional backup. There's no one there saying, we'll work it out together. When you're solo, every problem lands fully on one nervous system. As we age, family dynamics can change. People move away. Over the years, our support systems can shrink. We all know friendships can change. When you're a couple, you have extended people in your life. His friends, your friends, and our friends. When you split up, there's no more our friends usually. You can make strong connections and bonds to your partner's family as well. And when you become divorced or you separate, you lose that connection, you lose that bond. You can lose a lot of people in your life at that particular time, and it can take a long time to rebuild those connections with new people. Solo people have to carry the psychological load all alone. And I think some women actually become battle weary. Sometimes I just don't want to have to be strong anymore. But life isn't all dark. There are some truly beautiful moments, and I cherish those times. Sometimes just being out in the sunshine can uplift you. Laughing with friends, laughing with people. I think humour is so important. I don't know how I'd get through life without my sense of humour. More than anyone, I think older people really know how to value and appreciate the smaller things in life. I think that's one way we thrive, enjoying those simple pleasures, enjoying those moments, particularly in nature. They truly humble us. I don't think that thriving is actually constant happiness. I think it's just being able to enjoy life still while we're carrying our worries and our troubles with us. I do think some older people are often trying to be brave, and I think they're carrying more than they're willing to admit. I think particularly if you're solo, quite often you're trying to stay emotionally steady. I think we can put on a brave face for other people. We don't want to burden people with our problems or our troubles. I think it's also really important that we have someone we can talk to, someone we can be really raw and honest with. There's no shame in sharing your problems. What do they say? A problem shared is a problem halved. A lot of us grew up with stoic parents. We were told that we had to grin and bear it. We had to even have a stiff upper lip. Remember that old saying, a stiff upper lip? We had to suck it up. We weren't allowed to whinge. We weren't allowed to moan. We weren't allowed to vent. We had to keep it together and put on a front. So if you're not actually out there or at home, thriving every day, you're not alone. You're probably surviving with dignity and courage and using humour to get by. And we don't get any credit for that. But I think at times we all need to give ourselves a pat on the back. We're doing the best we can with what we have.